Hello everybody and welcome back to my humble abode known as Si Knows the Score, and we are on game week number 16 and we have a lot of lovely weather right now. We have a storm wind, everything else going in the background, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it doesn't come onto the microphone because for some reason we live in an apartment which doesn't have very good fillers or whatever you want to call it, in the windows, and the draft comes all the way through and it just feel like it's quite haunted at times, and it's actually called an old mill where I live, so who knows, maybe it is actually haunted and these are ghosts. But anyway, enough of waffling on, let's get on to game week 16 where we are kicking off this week at Stamford Bridge between, well, of course, Chelsea and Everton. And Chelsea have gone through a little bit of a blip, haven't they, here? So look, Chelsea do have a squad which is, I would say, is capable of competing across multiple competitions, but do they have a starting 11 which can win multiple competitions in one season? Right now it doesn't look that way. Look, they recently, well, they are the world champions, aren't they? They are the club world champions. They've beaten the likes of PSG to win that tournament, and even recently in the Champions League, they've beaten the likes of Barcelona. But given that context, it does look like they only show up for the big matches. Again, maybe an issue with the mentality of the squad right now, and Maresca got it all wrong against Leeds in a fixture that is renowned to be fiery. He then reverted back to probably his best starting 11 away at Bournemouth. And it didn't look good either against Bournemouth, and they could have and probably should have lost the game down there at Bournemouth. And what needs to happen at Chelsea? He needs to stop rotating the side so much because, yes, they have quality, talent in abundance within the squad, but when it comes to consistency and having the same players, especially at the back line, you generally try not to touch, do you? Because you want consistency at the back because they all know how to play with one another, etc, etc. He needs to keep the same team for as long as possible rather than rotating 100 million times in a season. But then when we look at the away team here in Everton, who had a brilliant win against Forest and was a performance to be proud of, actually. They were actually up to 5th at one point over the weekend, and if they keep getting a couple of wins, a draw, and then the odd loss for the rest of the season, based on how the season is currently unfolding, they could actually be near a European spot. Of course, Barry getting on the score sheet too for the first time, I believe, this season might be a confidence booster for him. He might go on a bit of a scoring run now, which Everton need, especially from their strikers. So for this one, though, surely Chelsea will be right up for this back at Stamford Bridge, and I shall give them a clean sheet too with a 2-0 victory. Liverpool versus Brighton, and Liverpool just looks so vulnerable at the back, and Canate once more showed why so many Liverpool fans are keen for a new centre-back. I mean, will Gay come in January and would Glasner let him go, or must Liverpool look elsewhere? I mean, look, there's a real mixed bag with Liverpool, well, Liverpool fans even, whether Slot should get the boot or not, but with the amount they've spent, if Slot can't get them playing well, then for me, he has to go. Brighton, on the other hand, have now lost and drawn at home against Villa and West Ham. So based on that, especially maybe against West Ham, it has made this fixture a little trickier to predict, especially given Liverpool's, abhorrent form too. So what I will say in this fixture is there will be goals, as both teams do have defensive fragility, so I'm going to go with a very narrow but entertaining 3-2 Liverpool win. Burnley versus Fulham, and Burnley are in the realms of Wolves, where I'm not sure where their next win actually comes from, even at home at Turf Moor. So for me, they've actually... This might be a bold statement, and I'm definitely open to any comments on this one, especially from Burnley and Wolves fans. But for me, I feel like they've actually performed worse than Wolves in terms of on the pitch play. Yes, I know Burnley have got better results, but I think in terms of performances, if you take away Wolves' recent one against Man United, but the rest of them, then I feel that Wolves have actually performed better than Burnley. Now, when it comes to the manager, will they look to keep Parker for the Championship? I mean, I don't think any manager can come in and keep this crop of players up. So, for me, why not keep him, who is, proven at the Championship level? Fulham are still one of the teams to keep an eye on, whether they will be amongst the relegation battle or not, where they must not lose this game, which could instill some much needed confidence into this Burnley team if it was to go in their favour. So surely Fulham will splash the cash in January and give Marco Silva a little more to help them stay up and, maybe hit over 40 points and be a little bit well away from the relegation battle. So all in all for this match, I will go in favour of Fulham with a 2-1 win. Arsenal versus Wolves, and Arsenal's 18 unbeaten run in all competitions has come to an end against an informed Villa side at one of the grounds that can do that to you. So even though I had draw for this last week, for me it was not actually that surprising that came away with nothing and did deserve to lose too. So fair play to Villa there. We touched on Wolves just before, and them losing 4-1 at home against any team is should be a dire result and performance. And in fairness, they were probably actually lucky that they didn't concede more than 4 goals against Man United here. And yeah, look, as we say basically every week now, they're almost certain to go down, so it's hard to see where their next win will come from too, and it certainly won't be at the Emirates, will it? So perhaps I'm being generous here, but I'm going with a comfortable 4-0 Arsenal win, where they'll probably never have to get out of second gear for this one. That's the only reason why I'm not going for a higher victory for Arsenal, because I just feel like they just probably won't even really need to show up for this one. And sorry, Wolves, if that sounds disrespectful, but that's just where you are at this moment in time. Crystal Palace versus Man City, and Palace with 2 away wins against teams which you would probably expect them to probably go away this season and win. When it comes to home advantage as well, as we know has been highly advantageous in the Premiership this year, it's still very good to get any victory on the road. When it comes to home form though for Palace, they do sit 15th for home form so far, albeit with a game in hand over some other teams. They will definitely want to improve this area in particular, as they actually sit top of the away table right now, which is very, very well done to them and fair play. Now, City have had a nice sequence of teams in their last 3, as they faced against 2 newly promoted teams in Leeds and Sunderland, along with potential relegation battlers Fulham, although they did almost make a mess of both the Leeds and Fulham wins after nearly bottling a 2-goal lead against Leeds and a 4-goal lead against Fulham. The City find themselves only 2 points behind Arsenal, and they may smell blood here. So I think I will go with a City win, and I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory for the Citizens. Forest versus Spurs, and Forest really struggled at the hrvizak Stadium, and it wasn't a good day for the gravel muncher Sean Dyche. So Sean Dyche came out after in his press conference and he was moaning, wasn't he, about even his ex-player Tarkovsky, but come on, they were pretty woeful, and it was a performance even I wasn't expecting from them there. Because, as you'd imagine, Sean Dyche would be very much up for that against his former team, Everton. So here, with Forest, they actually sit 18th in home form 2 this season, a statistic that needs to change to help them get away from the drop zone. And then we have Spurs, on the other hand, who have been very good away from home, haven't they? And Thomas Frank has had a fair bit of scrutiny from some fans, and I feel it is a little bit unjust at the moment. Look, he's had a great win against his former team, where they finally got their second home win of the season, with a very good performance against an informed Brentford. So, was a result that probably surprised myself and many others. So this is a bit of a toughie to predict. So I'm thinking, based on data and recent form, that this will be Spurs or draw. So shall give Forest the benefit of the doubt and give them a point. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 close encounter to be the final score for this one. Sunderland versus Newcastle, and it's the big Tyne-Wear derby for the first time, I believe, 7 years, and this will surely be an edge of your seat thriller, where Sunderland had a good point at Anfield, along with a loss at the Etihad, although you can't be too disheartened losing at the Etihad. This will be the last game week too, before they lose a number of players to AFCON, so they'll be looking at this to go out on a bang, where they will probably be looking to use more players from last season's 4th place finish and playoff winning the championship. So it will be interesting to see how they get on, especially with Luke O'Nien out for 3 games too. However, they've got them for this game, so we can't look too far ahead just yet, because Newcastle will also be quite happy, especially after claiming 7 out of the last 9 points, but may have hoped for a larger win against 10-man Burnley. But I suppose a win in the Premier League is a win, and you must take all wins that come your way. So yeah, a bit of travelling as well for Newcastle in Champions League with a game away at Bayern Leverkusen, so they'll be grateful this fixture is on the Sunday, just giving that extra little bit of rest. So I don't think this should have too much of an impact on the fixture, given the rest, that 72-hour rest that they should have. However, as we know, it's tough for any team to go to the stadium like it. Never mind it being a derby where the fans are going to be absolutely up for it from minute 1 all the way until minute 90. So I'm going to go here with a feisty 2-2 draw. West Ham versus Aston Villa, and West Ham with a very good draw at the Amex, and you must say, if anything was going to happen to Bowen this season, then West Ham could be doomed. So they'll need him fit for basically the entirety of the season if they're to have a chance of staying up, or maybe even pulling away from the relegation zone. If he does get injured, yeah, it's going to be really, really difficult for them and Nuno too, unless they are bringing players in January, which they'll need to look at doing anyway where they can. So I do think, West Ham fans should be content with 3 points in the last 4 games, where they've gone away to Brighton, Man United, Bournemouth, and had Liverpool at home. So it could have been a lot worse. It could have gone there with 0 points after all those. So yeah, it's not been a bad 4 matches really, all in all. Aston Villa, of course, will be on cloud 9 after a 95th minute winner by the rejuvenated Emi Buendia, and we have to give a lot of praise to Unai Emery's in-game management, who, more often than not, gets the tactics and substitutions right, doesn't he? And now Aston Villa find themselves 3rd in the league and only 3 points off Arsenal after a poor start to the league, where last week I joked about them actually being title challengers, especially after, I'm sure many of you will agree, was a mess summer transfer window for a team like Villa. Surely this goes one way, even at the London Stadium, and I will go with a tight 2-1 win to the Villains. Brentford versus Leeds, and Brentford's losses against Spurs and Arsenal has seen them slip down the table to 14th and only 6 points above the relegation spot, which is 18th place West Ham. So do you think we've seen enough? I do think we've seen enough from Brentford to say it's unlikely that they will go down and get dragged completely into relegation battle. Just look, it was just how the fixtures have fallen for them there, and a little bit unlucky. So you can't take anything from those 2 fixtures, I don't think. My team Leeds, on the other hand, have turned it around last week with a surprising 4 points and a positive goal difference, which is probably more surprising than 4 points actually, where we scored 8 goals against Man City at Etihad, Liverpool and Chelsea, thanks to some tactical switches from Daniel Farke. It's all with us all season, going 5 at the back and going more direct, using the physicality that we actually recruited for and how we actually began the season too. So yes, let's keep that. Let's have that going, Farke, please, because you're definitely going to watch this video and you're definitely going to listen to me, aren't you? Yes, I can see behind his screen that he's definitely nodding and saying yes, yes, yes at that one. But for me, the best thing about going into this particular fixture for us Leeds fans is we don't actually know how Farke will set the team up here, which makes it trickier for opponents to prepare for too. Now, after all of what I've just said there, regardless of all the praise I've just given Farke and the boys, I think Brentford will score a few here. As we've always struggled in London, I think this will be a good day at the office for Brentford. I'm going to go with a maybe surprising 3-1 victory, considering what I've just said. And last but not least, and once again, Man United ending the game week as they are up against Bournemouth at Old Trafford, and it was a more than thoroughly deserved win for them against Wolves, with only now 1 loss in 9. So Bournemouth, on the other hand, could have and maybe should have beaten Chelsea and find themselves without a win in 7 now, but they do keep going and try to attack and press their opponents. So yes, it does mean that there can be quite a few goals in some of the fixtures, and I do sense that here. I do feel like there will be goals here at Old Trafford with a topsy-turvy type of match, and feel this will go in Man United's favour, just with a 3-2 win to finish off an exciting Game Week 16, because I have put quite a few goals this week and I feel like there are goals to be had. So yes, thank you all again for watching. I hope you have enjoyed my insights. If you could please like and subscribe for more. Again, it always means a lot to me. The channel is doing a lot better than I ever imagined it would be at this point. So again, I am really grateful. And until the next one, have a great week and weekend, depending on when you watch this. And we'll see you in the next one for Game Week 17. And until then, bye for now.